Episode 50, Exercise. One's perspective is one's reality.
You're listening to the very best podcast in the world on health, wealth, and happiness. Please remember to leave a review and share with all your friends and family. And here is your host, Lars Hilser.
And we're going into the 50th exercise. No, it's not the 50th exercise. It's the 50th episode of the very best podcast in the world. Personal supremacy through health, wealth, and happiness. I'm sorry for the really buggy, motivating kind of start, but it's been an exhausting day thus far. And interesting things have transpired and happened. Nothing to do with the podcast, yet still enticing somehow. So in that sense, let's get down to it, shall we? Because, well, no, we've got time. If, by the way, you hear the crackling in the background, that's the fireplace because it's cozy. Shame on you if you don't have one. Or no, too bad for you. So one's perspective is one's reality. What is there to be exercised about, you might justifiably be asking. And the thing is that a lot of you haven't really had the chance to explore other places. And with other places, I don't mean, you haven't been to the woods behind your house, or you haven't been to the park or whatever. But I mean, it's about fundamental changes becoming possible through changing your perspective of the world. And by changing your perspective, getting a bit more of a worldly, cosmopolitan view. But on the other hand, this change of perspective for a lot of people has caused a desire for change to really happen, because before the desire, or before they even knew that there were other things out there than the job they're currently doing and the life they're currently leading, you don't really have the desire or the urge to change because everything's comfortable, everything's good. Why bother, right? And for a lot of people, that results in, shall we say, terminal dissatisfaction, because at the end of the life, a lot of people on their deathbed are like, damn, I should have done this and I should have done that, and so on and so forth. And that's really something that shouldn't happen in today's world for most of us. There are those stuck in places where they just can't flee. They're stuck in situations which they just cannot shed off and run away, or, well, not run away, but that has a negative connotation, but, to essentially change their lives significantly. And of those, there are a multitude. So how does changing the perspective change the reality? And that's the question we're going to answer in this episode. And we're also going to do a hands-on approach on how you can train yourself to broaden your perspective, because that's, turns out to be pretty cool to know a lot of shit, and to be knowledgeable, and to, expand your skill set, makes you more valuable in the workforce if you, are the 9-to-5 kind of person. But it, it also gives you a variety of other positive aspects. So let us get going. Now, why would people be stuck in their perspective, in their reality, in their worldview? A few things I already mentioned. If, for instance, you've never left your city or your town or your village or your state or your country and never been to a totally different part of the world where, I don't know, perhaps another language is spoken, where you've got totally different senses to devour. I needed a very dominant word, and devour was kind of like very adequate. And that's really what it's about. This world to us is open, and I'm not talking about going to where do a lot of Americans go to? I don't know, to Mexico, onto some beach or whatever, because it's not like the US would have nice beaches, or the your average German going to either Turkey for a vacation or Spain or whatever. A lot of times it's about staying in your comfort zone, and that's quite an inappropriate word. Not inappropriate in that it would be bad, but it doesn't really hit it, because your average German will go to their, Balearic Island, or Balearic Islands. They will seek their same. They will, exchange thoughts as they, with people they meet there, as they would on their, normal weekly meets or at work back home. So you're not really changing the surrounding, thereby not changing your perspective. With changing perspective, I mean those people who are daring enough to put on a backpack and, for instance, travel in Thailand, because it's a totally different culture, a very fascinating one, by the way, and a very old culture. The people are insanely interesting and friendly and welcoming towards foreigners. Bangkok is, I don't know, probably one of the most fascinating cities I've ever seen. And the culture is different. The writing is different. The letters are different. There's no normal alphabet. You've got some people who speak English, other people don't. So you're going to have to, speak with your hands and feet. And that's what I mean by changing the perspective, not going to a pool somewhere in, I don't know, Turkey or Mexico or whatever, and with your all-inclusive package, and that's not really having been to Mexico or another country, right? And it's about interacting with the locals, respecting their customs, and just being with each other, and thereby really seeing, for instance, that a lot of people are way worse off than we are. And I think I mentioned that explicitly in one episode where I said you can't taste the difference between shit and French fries. So that being said, there are another, this is like the physical going there thing, right? But there are other ways you can really broaden your perspective, for instance, by reading books about different cultures written by different authors. And I'm not talking about your Harry Potter or your Tom Clancy novel, the gazillionth one or whatever it is, but stories and lives inspired by someone in a totally different culture. And that would be the first step and recommendation to do immediately. Is like, go read book recessions. Look for, I don't know, for instance, if you're interested in a culture, in a particular culture, look up books that describe how it is there. If you don't have the chance to go there. Now, I was blessed because I traveled quite a lot, quite extensively, and inevitably on projects you have some downtime. And I remember one occasion where I was in a Muslim country, and I had inquiries about the religion. And I went to the Grand Mosque, and there was the I don't know what the English word is. Muezzin is in any case the European word, I think, even for it. And I said, hey, sorry to bother you, but I've got inquiries. Is the imam available? And the guy looks at me. He's like, he looks at this tall, blonde, long-haired Westerner in a suit and Doc Martens boots, and I don't know what he's thinking. He was probably thinking I'm CIA trying to, um, you know, trying to nab his imam away. So the imam comes down and says, "Yes, you had inquiries," and I was like, "Yeah, can I invite you for a cup of tea?" It's going to be quite. I have quite a few questions, and so we sat down. I think at the end of the day for 3 hours, upwards of 3 hours, and we had polite conversation about I don't know so many things that were going around my mind because of the obvious disinformation that this whole war on terror post 9/11 was trying to be injected into my head. And I got, answers, and we still occasionally speak, the Imam and I, just to, keep us posted on what's happening in each other's lives and what the West is doing, and for myself, what the Far East is doing. And sorry. And so that's like the crown jewels of broadening your perspective, because even if you go to your local mosque, you're going to get some kind of opinion by someone that grew up in the West. Yeah, he's got the title of an imam, but he's not, he's got a diluted picture because he hasn't really, or a lot of them haven't really grown up in their own culture. Therefore, it's very hard to convey what they're actually, or, anything above the truly religious aspect, right? And this is what I mean by, discovering different cultures, because if you are put into the position where you have to get exposed to a culture like that, for instance, on vacation, and you can prepare by kind of discovering the culture through a native writer out of that region that you're intending to visit, and just get a picturesque feeling of, if it's a good writer, get good imagery of what this city looks like, what the culture is, what the customs are, and so on and so forth, right? Sorry, the last cigarette was banned. So, but there are different aspects that go along with it. For instance, there was a time when there were TV programs pretty much across the planet where people from one country kind of expatriated to another, just because they were sick of their own country and so on and so forth. And a lot of them were a little bit prepared in that they spoke a few words of the language of the country that they were going to. There were others that didn't even do that and expected, the country to be so welcoming to them because, hey, here comes a Westerner, and we're special and everything. No, they just, let them starve, really. And that was kind of welcome to see, because what I saw, for instance, when you had tourist groups in the Maldives, on the main island in Male, the ladies were wearing their spaghetti tops and the guys were just looking like shit. And, for the local custom is that the shoulders of a woman have to be covered, right? And they were told, probably more likely than not, and they just didn't bother, and thereby offended that culture. And these are the same people that are going to complain that somebody in their Western country is causing discomfort to them because they're wearing their hijab. It's like this, what the fuck is going on in your head? You go to another country, you disrespect their customs, and they come to your country and then they disrespect yours, and then it's a totally different story, right? No, it isn't. It's disrespectful in any way, shape, or form whenever you visit a country, get acquainted with the customs, and how to dress, how to speak, how to have polite conversation. You know, it's kind of like, this respect thing, which a lot of people just totally lack, and a lot of that can be led back to a lack of perspective, and thereby resulting in a distorted reality, a lot of which the people are just too narrow-minded to kind of wrap that around their head. Sorry. So, how are we going to actually change perspective, and is that even desirable? Right. So, for the first thing, is it desirable? I think yes, because the goal of life should be to educate yourself. And as I said, it's not just about different cultures, it's about different skill sets that you can attain by broadening your perspective. If you learn, for instance, how to grow a garden, which for a lot of people is just insanely difficult, or how to grow fruits and vegetables in your garden, it just enriches your life so much. And so anything you learn is going to broaden your perspective, and thereby is going to change your perception of reality. It's going to broaden your reality as well. So, is it desirable? Yes. How are we going to achieve it? Well, yeah, that's even more difficult. Now that we've got the Rona, it's very difficult to travel, especially extensively. And if you fall ill, you don't necessarily want to be in a country where you would get bad or no medical attention. So therefore, the whole traveling bit, at the moment at least, I would kind of, pause. However, there are certain customs, certain routines that you can change in your day, which will inevitably lead to you changing your perspective. It may be as simple as changing your consumption of news. It's like, if you are stuck on one news station and have been for the past decades of your life, change it. Look at, I don't know if you're the left-leaning kind of person, the liberal person, or if you're kind of like the right-leaning person. Look at the other side and what they have to say, and then take your left-leaning side and your right-leaning side, meet them kind of put them in the middle, and then you have pretty much an informed opinion. If you go down the rabbit hole of then analyzing it further, your opinion will broaden further. That's where we get to the books, newspapers, and whatever, which inevitably will lead to your horizon broadening significantly. Now, this is current issues, right? But if you run into a topic, for instance, that you don't know what the information is, or what the details are, take a fucking note in your $1,000 smart device. And then when you're, if you're in company, do it later, take a note. If you're, not with anyone, just take out your fucking device. Don't WhatsApp your buddies or scroll endlessly through Facebook, but actually take the time, use a thing called Wikipedia. A lot of you will be familiar, and then kind of start researching. And you'll be amazed at the amount of information that the world has put together in that one platform. And that by itself will then lead to yourself being enlightened a little bit more, because you know what you're talking about from here on forth, right? And that being said, there are a large variety of other things that you can actually do to broaden your perspective. And that's just, I don't know, what we have currently globally is a very shitty situation in where the bees are dying, loads of them. If you are blessed with a house in the green or, in the burbs, I don't know, go into beekeeping. Very interesting topic. Theoretically, I've done it. Practically, I'm missing the time. But that's very interesting too. How all of the stuff that bees do and how they do it and how the colony works and so on and so. Very interesting stuff. Or if you have a little bit of more room and you want to piss off your neighbors, get some chicken. Get your eggs directly out of the chicken rather than it having been driven half through the country that you live in, and having had a significant carbon footprint. It's keeping chicken is totally easy. You give them essentially your compost to feed on, and that's it. The stuff you toss out anyhow is going to feed the chicken. The chicken is going to give you eggs, and if the chicken are, kind of, becoming useless, you even have food out of them. Very interesting kind of approaches to kind of broaden your horizon. Are you the handy person? Look for interesting stuff to do on platforms like Etsy. Do you want to broaden your skills by, I don't know, if you're the wood person, you want to do some woodwork, get some inspirations on a platform like Etsy. See if you can figure it out, do it, sell it at markets, and, make an extra buck, engage with people that you haven't spoken to in the past. Just, break off those chains that are kind of keeping you in your current situation. And I know that in particular in the Rona times, a lot of people are stuck at home, getting frustrated, getting depressed. And at the end of the day, there's so much great stuff you can do with your time, which is way better than watching TV, Netflix, or, playing stupid video games, right? You can use that time. Speaking of which, short excursion, there's a game called the Farm Simulator, where in real time you harvest your crops and whatever. Yes, you heard it right. That's a computer game. So, but the next level of stupid is really hundreds of people watching a live stream of some idiot somewhere playing this computer game. It's like, how bizarre can the world get? And I found that so interesting that I actually got hooked on it for half an hour, because I was trying to, because these people, they have conversations with each other, because like a multiplayer game, and the topics were just so ridiculous that I was like, damn, why don't you sit your ass on a real tractor at a farm somewhere, and help out, earn an extra few bucks. Yeah, shit, you'll get your hands dirty. That'll suck. But, it's like this distancing from reality is just increasing so much that it was very interesting to me to kind of give thought to this episode on how to actually change reality for some people, because a lot of people really need it. So in that sense, I hope I gave you an inspiration for an inspirational weekend, because it's Friday. Yay. And if you've had your successful day, good night. Keep your hands above the blanket. If you haven't, then have a successful day. And or no, I got that mixed up. Anyhow, successful day, good night, hands above the blanket. Feedback, comments, criticism, especially in this. If you have further questions, please send them to the very best podcast in the world at gmail.com, as always. And if you want to keep me posted or want to let me know what you managed to change in your life, if at all, if you're comfortable, don't bother. It's like, if you find this podcast interesting to sleep in, to get to sleep, okay, not mad at you. But in any case, if you want to keep me posted, let me know what you've chosen to change, how you've chosen to broaden your perspective and your reality. Please feel free to reach out. Also, the very best podcast in the world at gmail.com. I am peace out. Well, am I peace out? I don't know. Peace out. And I will hear you again on Monday, hopefully.